The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.
I must take care of Jenny as she has taken care of me in the past.
Your memory is more than an attic for fond reminiscing. It's necessary to walk, eat, and even breathe.
Alzheimer's disease is a progressive degenerative disease of the brain.
Why is this disease so baffling? Why is there no cure?
The biggest problem, I think, with Alzheimer's disease is the impact on the caregiver and family.
Meet the doctor, the patients, and the caregivers coping with this difficult disease every day on this special edition of Today's Health. This program is brought to you in part by Esai Incorporated and by an educational grant from Pfizer U.S. Pharmaceuticals Group.
Memories. As we grow older, they can be far more precious than our personal possessions. But our memory is more vital than just reminiscing. It's a function of our brain that's vital to every other bodily function. Unfortunately, for nearly 4 million people in this country, their memory is in jeopardy due to Alzheimer's disease. Hello, I'm Faith Daniels, and this is Today's Health. In this special edition, we'll examine the impact Alzheimer's disease can have on the patients and the caregivers, and we'll explore why there's more hope now than ever before.
These are the pictures when we were married 45 years and the kids made us a surprise party.
First thing was that he went to the bank and cashed a check. When he came home, he had no idea what he did with the money.
She became unable to do the usual tasks that she did. She was no longer able to prepare meals. Took to wandering a little bit.
Alzheimer's disease is a progressive degenerative disease of the brain, and in this condition, brain cells become diseased and malfunction and slowly drop out and actually die. As a result of that, an individual has progressive loss of memory, loss of intellect and other abilities to think, reason, and judge, and with the progression of time actually loses the ability to function independently in society and requires the assistance of others for basic daily needs and necessities.
The incidence of Alzheimer's disease nationally is probably around 2 million people. It's expected that this number probably will go to 10 million at the turn of the century.
Holy smoke! Jenny! 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 Oh, there you are! When Jenny was having dementia problems, I didn't know what it was at first, and I was sort of puzzled, and it seemed to me that something was happening to her that needed attention.
One of the most important things to know about Alzheimer's disease is that the memory loss and confusion that most people attribute to getting old is not a normal part of aging.
It is normal to develop mild memory problems as people age, but Alzheimer's disease is a very serious problem that affects not only memory, but other areas of cognition or thought, as well as an individual's ability to function on a day-to-day basis.
The diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease is made by presumption. We presume that it isn't anything else. There is no specific diagnostic test available for Alzheimer's disease. After someone dies and has an autopsy, we can usually make a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease based on the numbers of abnormalities, which are called tangles and plaques. Did you drive here?
Mm-hmm.
You were driving?
Yes, I did.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
You sure you weren't riding and she was doing the driving?
Were you driving?
Yes, I was.
I think so, yeah.
Alzheimer's disease can be followed in its progression through several stages. The first stage is a generally mild and relatively benign condition in which an individual's memory is primarily affected and other intellectual capacities are mildly affected. As the disease progresses into moderate stage, the condition gets worse so that the memory problem becomes all-encompassing, and an individual can't remember to do the things necessary to live alone, unhelped at home. So as the disease progresses over time, an individual loses more and more of their abilities.
In addition to the physical and psychological impact of Alzheimer's disease, there are many financial implications.
Well, of course, my biggest concern is if he should get worse and have to go into a facility, then that's the biggest financial problem I have to worry about, having enough money for him to go into the facility.
The cost of Alzheimer's disease is borne by the family and caregiver. None of us usually have health care insurance to cover that process.
The onset of Alzheimer's has affected our life by sort of exiling us. Many of the friends we had can't cope with Jenny's condition and have dropped away.
Unfortunately, there seems to be a stigma associated with any disease, and particularly with those diseases of aging, in a society that values youth so much.
I don't think I've had any problem with my memory.
We see a very big problem with denial, more so in men than in women because of the difference between the genders, and people don't want to admit that their forgetfulness is out of the ordinary, and that leads to some very big problems with early detection and diagnosis.
We suggest that if patients think that they're developing a dementing illness like Alzheimer's disease, or if their family members think that they are, that they should seek medical attention so that a proper diagnosis can be made.
Al, what would you like to eat today?
Food.
You have to have a lot of patience, and I don't always have the patience I need, because he can ask me the same question 20 times in 20 minutes. Every day I thank God that the disease isn't any worse than it is, and that if it won't get any worse, I'll be very fortunate. And that's the only way I can face every day, because I look around me and I see what other people have, and I know we're very lucky.
There's nothing more tragic than the loss of oneself. And in Alzheimer's disease, a person loses him or herself, and a family loses their loved one. But it's not even a quick loss. It's a very slow, long goodbye.
I have such an obligation to Jenny that I would never want to desert her. And for that reason, well, we're here till the end.
I spend a good deal of my time trying to figure out what Cindy and I should do.
How do you manage a disease with no cure? How do you cope? Alzheimer's disease impacts the life of more than the patient. Next on Today's Health.
People often despair at the diagnosis of probable Alzheimer's, but for many patients there are still good years left where they can maintain a high quality of life. In fact, early intervention and proper treatment and management can often help keep these years the golden ones.
I forgot all about that.
You made it.
I did it.
Yeah.
Certainly there are many ways of supporting a patient who has Alzheimer's disease. We can try and improve the quality of their life by giving them tasks that they can do. We can try and improve the quality of their thinking with things like medications. One of the medicines we use to treat the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease is Aricept.
These medications are designed to increase the concentration of a chemical called acetylcholine. That chemical really helps the brain cells function in areas of thinking that include paying attention, memory, speech, sometimes even behavior.
Aricept does have some side effects. Occasionally people will report problems with nausea, loose stool, indigestion, but these tend to be very mild and self-limited. They go away typically after a week or two of treatment. Some would feel that simply delaying the progression of the illness is not valuable, but others would feel that anything we can do to support the function of the individual during the time they're affected by the illness is very important.
Because he's taken Aricept, many of our friends don't even realize that he has Alzheimer's. I used to tell my children, if you're there at the right time, at the right place, you're well off. And this is how I feel about this medicine.
When managing Alzheimer's disease, special attention needs to be given to the caregiver as well as the patient. These people can report spending 69 to 100 hours a week providing care.
The real hidden heroes in Alzheimer's disease are the caregivers. These are the people who bear the brunt of the illness.
So the caregiver offers social support, medication supervision, and as the illness progresses, they help more and more with the actual everyday activities.
Mark, wake up. Open your eyes.
What? Oh, but come on, wake
Sure,
up.
there's stress, without question. After I repeat 4 or 5 times that what I've said, you want to say, but you've got to forget it. You want to say, don't you remember? I spend a good deal of my time trying to figure out what Cindy and I should do and how to keep her busy. I don't mean make work busy. I mean busy from the standpoint of really doing things that she can do.
The best thing in my life is my husband. First of all, that was very romantic, and it has stayed that way. But I lean on him, and he knows. He always tells me that, tell me what I can do for you, or you should have told me that. Don't hide anything.
In Mark's case, it's been more positive. He seems to be more appreciative of everything I do.
Providing care to an individual with Alzheimer's disease is almost always emotionally taxing. There are shifts in roles, so wives who previously didn't have responsibilities, for instance for finances, suddenly find that as one of their jobs and something they haven't done in many years. All right, well, let's check a few things on your examination then. Can you put your arms out in front of you like this? Good. And close your eyes. With your eyes closed, touch this finger to your nose. Good. Bring it back.
How do you think your memory's been lately?
I think I've improved a little bit. Sometimes I'm good and sometimes I'm not.
If you're dealing with Alzheimer's disease as a patient or caregiver, there is help and support available. Patient education programs like Triad and over 200 chapters nationally of the Alzheimer's Association offer support groups that are helping patients and caregivers cope.
Triad is a program of education and support sponsored by Pfizer and Esai. It provides newsletters, telephone help numbers, resources for the person who is caring for the affected individual to contact when they have need.
With the Triad program, I have received information that has been beneficial to me. I have passed it on to other people.
That's correct. It'll stop the progression for...
I had some trepidation about going into a support group. Completely changed when I saw what was going on. Here were people that were experiencing the same kind of thing and had a lot of questions, and were asking each other questions.
Caring for an Alzheimer's patient is very taxing, even if the patient is having a very slowly progressive course, because the caregiver, usually a family member, who sees the person slipping away, even though it may be slowly.
Here, take this in your right hand, fold it in half. You have to look at the bright side. You can't look at the sad side. You can be very depressed if you look at the sad side.
We have a list of things that we've always wanted to do, and we're checking them off day by day. You really have to live now because the future is very unknown.
But as long as I'm healthy and I can keep one, I want to be the one to take care of him.
Coping with Alzheimer's disease can be a family affair. When we return, we'll meet one family who's working together to keep this disease at bay. Stay with us.
Alzheimer's disease is an illness that affects one individual, but its impact can change the lives of many others. For the patient and for the primary caregivers, dealing with this disease day to day often requires heroics that aren't evident from clinical definitions and statistics.
Generally, Frank was losing his day-to-day memory, actually minute to minute almost, because he would say he wanted to, like say, go to the bathroom. Fine. And I would have to direct him to the bathroom. Then he'd say, well, what am I doing here? We would have dinner. Maybe 15 minutes later, are we going to eat tonight? I'm hungry. Well, you just had dinner. He said to me, something's wrong with my head. I don't know what's wrong with it, but I need a doctor to look in there and see what's wrong.
Hey, Frank.
Hi.
How you doing? How you doing? Hi, Teresa. How are you?
Terry.
Yes, I know your wife, Frank.
You do?
Sure. We've met a number of times before.
Quit fooling around.
Frank was diagnosed with Alzheimer's before he came to see me. Up in New Jersey, his family had brought him into physicians because they had noticed some memory impairment and that he would get confused with some simple tests. As far as his Alzheimer's, usually what we'll go through is maybe a mini mental exam just to see how well Frank is oriented to time, place, where he is, what the time of the month is, those sort of things, what holidays may be coming up. Simple things just to get a gauge on how well his mental function is. Frank, how are your grandkids doing?
How
are your grandchildren doing?
How many grandchildren do we have? They'll all be in school. They're still in school, so it's...
How many do you have?
She's the doctor.
We have 8.
8.
8 altogether. He's gotten up at night, sometimes every hour. He will get up, put his pants on, put his shoes and socks, and then in the middle of the night, I'm there trying to take the shoes off, the socks off, get him back into bed. So I finally decided it's too much. That I take his clothes, shoes, everything, hide them in the walk-in closet because he doesn't even realize it's a closet and he never goes in there. But as things began to get a little tougher, I decided that maybe I would move to Florida because I had 3 married daughters living here. And I knew that they would be able to support me.
It's very difficult for my mother being a primary caregiver. She's very independent. They used to do a lot of things together, and now they can't even go to the supermarket half the time. My mother's 24 hours a day committed to making sure he's okay, and we have to support her. Not that we mind supporting her, but you have to be there, you know, so she can get a break and she has someplace to go.
There are times when he does not know who I am. He will ask me, do you know where my wife is? Do you know when she's coming home? There are many days when I feel I can't make it anymore. I cry a lot at night because you just can't help it. It just seems like there's nothing, you know, that's going to stop this. As the years go by, you have the shell of the person you married, but it is not that person. It's very lonely because you really have no one to talk to. We were always close. He was my best friend.
My father he's my father. I mean, this is a part of his life. It's something that I've just accepted. I mean, it's not something that I enjoy seeing, but you just deal with it. There's nothing, you know, he's just my dad.
He was just always there. When I had my children, he was at the hospital every day for the whole week. And it's hard because I don't have him now to go and talk to.
I'm a little more fortunate than the others because I have my 3 daughters. They allow me to go to church on Sundays. I can go shopping because they will stay with him.
I miss him. I like him the way he is now, but I miss the way he was.
If I had one wish to come true, I would wish that he wouldn't have Alzheimer's anymore.
The only free time I have is when he's in daycare.
Frank! Help!
Tonsils?
The type of management program that Frank is in now is more of a social arrangement for him to give Teresa, his wife, somewhat of a respite. He goes to a structured program outside of the home during the week, which is very good for him, allows him to socialize and do some simple tasks that may help him to improve and keep him focused, keep him oriented to daily living activities.
I go forward taking care of Frank because it's the one thing I want to do for him. I feel he was a good person, and I still love him, even though I know he's not the same man that he was. I wouldn't have it any other way. I want to be the one to take care of him, and I want him to be here at home.
If you're on the internet already or thinking about it, you'll be amazed at how much information there is concerning your health and well-being. For a good start, visit our Today's Health website at www.vstar.com. Alzheimer's disease may be one of the most difficult medical, physical, and psychological challenges on this earth. Fortunately for the patients, the physicians, and the primary caregivers coping with this disease, there is help and there is hope. I'm Faith Daniels. For more information about anything that we covered on this program, visit our website at www.vstar.com. And join us again next time as we get right to the heart of matters concerning your life on Today's Health.
This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.